Why old school RuneScape is such a big part of my life. I think it's the fact that I started at such a young age. I started playing this game back in 2009 when I was 9 years old. Pretty crazy when you think about it now. I'm 23 now, so I've been playing it well over half of my life. I was introduced to this game way back in 2009 when I was actually playing another game called Combat Arms at the time, which, if you guys don't know, Combat Arms is made from the same people who actually developed and made MapleStory, which I'm sure a lot of you guys are familiar with MapleStory. Combat Arms was basically just a first-person shooter game similar to Call of Duty. I really liked this game because it had really interesting maps and it was really good for its time, and I've always just been a PC gamer rather than your typical Xbox or PS4 kid. My dad showed me how to modify and change a computer, and this was way back in 2009, so it was a lot different. You had things like a sound card, like I don't even know what the hell that is, so it's definitely changed quite a bit since then. I remember my dad would go up to like Best Buy and pretty much just buy like a stock computer and then just rip the whole thing apart and change the graphics card and change all this stuff, right? We didn't build it from scratch back in the day like we do now. You kind of just change the components. And I remember it was like a 480 or something like that. I don't exactly remember what the graphics card was, but it was so expensive back in the day and it was like the best for its time. And my dad just put this in like a stock Dell. The guy at the counter is like, "Do you want warranty for this?" And my dad's like, "Nah, we're gonna rip it apart when we get home." And he's like, "Yeah, but do you want warranty just in case it breaks?" And my dad's like, "No, we're gonna take it apart the second we get home." So it's kind of my dad's fault, really, the reason I really got into computers at such a young age. I was just so fascinated with them. They could do so much more than my DS could, than my iPod Touch could, and especially like when I got a little bit older, my dad went ahead and bought me my first laptop ever, and I already played RuneScape at this point. I started on my stepdad's Mac computer back in the day. Yeah, those were fun times playing Minecraft with like 3 FPS, and But how I actually started RuneScape was my friend back in public school back in the day. I told him about Combat Arms. He tried it out, played it, and then he told me about RuneScape. And yeah, never logged out since. That's not exactly how it happened, but I got really addicted to the game and it kind of just took over everything. I stopped playing Combat Arms, stopped playing my little iPod Touch games like Plants vs. Zombies and whatever, and really just was like, this is it. This RuneScape is so good. I just remember like the 2009 graphics, and it was just like a whole new world, and this is something I wasn't used to. I was used to your typical Mario Party games where, you know, you'd log into a mini game and play it, but that was pretty much about it. So being exposed to this whole new world, which just seemed to have endless opportunity and endless things to do, was kind of overwhelming, but at the same time it was just so nice to learn so much. And then everyone started playing it. Back when I was in public school, there were so many people that would play RuneScape, so it was the talk back then in public school. Every single person would play it, and pretty much if you didn't play it, you were like the odd one out, right? And people that didn't even have computers would play it because we would play it in the computers in the school. It was just kind of a little scuffed there, but every single person would play it, and you know, they'd show off their stats, they'd show their bank, and they'd show everything. It was just so cool being able to literally talk to anyone in my public school and they would know what you were talking about. It's like, "Oh yeah, I killed a fire giant last night." It's like, oh my god. There was so much happening with it, like, you know, with the whole pretty much community of my school playing it. There were the good players and there were the bad players, right? I was your average player who would just play pretty much with all of his spare time and try to do as much as I could. I loved skilling. I was never really into combat too much, but I loved skilling and I loved doing all that stuff. There'd be some people that really liked questing. There'd be some people who were great at PKing and loved PKing back in the day. And there was just so much variety of the game that like everyone kind of just got along, right? There was this one kid in my class though who discovered botting, and he was like, "Yeah, I'm gonna get 99 woodcutting." And we were all like, how is this guy getting such high levels, right? Like, you know, he must be waking up at 5 in the morning, chopping some trees, and then, you know, staying up till 12 at night. Like, this guy was just leveling up the woodcutting so fast. This was a really funny story. So the guy who actually showed me RuneScape, he had a laptop because he had like a learning disability or something like that. So he was able to have a laptop back in the day to do all of his school on, which was before the time where laptops and tablets were actually like the norm, and that's what people use in class now. But he had one back in 2009, so he was able to pretty much AFK and play RuneScape whenever he wanted in class, which was awesome because I sat right beside him and watched him gain the progress the whole time. One time we were all sitting there at lunch, and we logged into World 2 in Draenor, and we saw this kid chopping willow trees while he was eating lunch at the other side of the room. We're all like, that's funny, this guy has the exact same name. So we walked over to him, and he's like, oh, that's, like he was frozen. He was like, that's not me. And he was literally got banned at 98 woodcutting, which was kind of funny. The kid was so embarrassed, but all of my friends were so mad that we went down to the principal's office and tried to report this kid for using an illegal program. Nothing, of course, happened, but the kid did get banned at 98. You love to see it. Go Jagex. So the connection with friends was actually just as important as the game was. Every single person was talking about it all day at school, and then we'd hop on Skype back in the day before even Discord was a thing, and we'd talk and play RuneScape with each other all night long. And this was for years and years and years. It was so much fun because some of my friends would just be PKing and I'd just be like chopping trees, and we'd be having a conversation about RuneScape, the items, the new updates, and what we thought about them. It was just always RuneScape 24/7. And the second somebody else played or tried another game, it was just like, yeah, you can leave this call, buddy. Not really, but at the same time, it was just like all RuneScape all the time. So the connection with friends was better than the actual gameplay itself, and I think that's kind of what really made me fall in love with the game. This game also had something that no other game offered really to the extent that it did, and it was the progression of the game. Now, I was never huge into gaming back then, right? I would play your typical Angry Birds, your typical first-person shooter game, whatever it might be, some Plants vs. Zombies here and there on my phone, and I loved Pokemon. One good game that I've always loved was Pokemon, but even with that, you still beat the game and then that's it, right? You could, instead of getting a 200 mil experience, you could go for level 100 in a certain Pokemon, right? But it really didn't have value. There was no high scores or anything like that. And you could realistically beat any of the Pokemon games in like 40 hours or so. RuneScape offered something completely different. I felt like every single skill in the game was an entire game in itself, right? Even cooking, for example, which was actually my very first 99 back in the day, it took me 50 60 hours to get from level 1 to 99, and just so much process and gathering all the money I needed and just getting to know all the knowledge of the skill and whatever. Back when I was 10 years old, that was a lot to do, and spending 50 to 60 hours on something was crazy. But finally getting that 99 cooking was like the biggest thing ever, and it felt like I beat that part of the game. But there was still so much more to do. And every single week, Jagex would release a new update, and it would give you even more to do, whether that be a new quest, a new boss to kill, and any type of new content, even a new skill back in the day. And it was just crazy, and it felt like you could never keep up with the content before they would release more, right? And if you did keep up with it, you literally had no life. I love the fact that you could log in, and right where you logged off, that's where you'd be. If you just lost all your money at the staking arena and you logged out and you got mad, you'd log in the next day and that's exactly where you'd be, right? If you went ahead and killed a boss and got a huge drop and you logged out, you logged back in the next day, that's exactly where you would be. And I was not a big fan of these party games where it would just be, you'd log in and it's the exact same thing every day and you start from square one every single day, right? And that was no fun to me. And even other games that offered this, like Minecraft, for example, awesome game. I still play it from time to time, but at the same time, I know there is a multiplayer aspect, but there's no high scores, there's no economy, so it is really fun, but I can only get into that game for a month, and then I'm like, I've done everything, like absolutely everything in the game. I've made every farm, I've got the best armor, I've killed all the bosses in the game, right? That's it, right? But Minecraft is still fun, and I do play it from time to time, especially with friends. It is fun, but it's not a forever thing like RuneScape is, right? Like, I loved Clash of Clans and I loved Farmville, those games where you logged in here and there and you got the little dopamine rushes when you would, get your next town hall upgrade, or, you'd unlock a new crop or whatever that might be in Farmville. I loved those type of games, right? But that's the farming skill on RuneScape, right? These games are $1 million franchises, but they're one skill on RuneScape, right? A lot of people don't like farming, but Farmville and Clash of Clans were some of the most popular apps. It just doesn't even really make sense to me because that's farming in RuneScape, right? One little percentage of RuneScape was games that people played for years. RuneScape got me to learn so much stuff. Back when I was a young kid, I literally had a teacher tell me, oh, spelling doesn't matter because you're gonna have like these things in the future that will tell you what to do. And I guess she really wasn't wrong. We do have Google and we do have all this stuff. But RuneScape really taught me to actually read, like, during quest lines and whatever it might be. There was so much you had to read, and it wasn't even just in the game. There was so much stuff you had to go ahead and look up. Like, I taught myself how to use the internet because of RuneScape, and I looked up so much stuff, read so many articles, read the wiki so much. So yeah, RuneScape taught me on pretty much how to read. It really got me to fall in love with math and numbers because there's experience calculators and, the economy and the grand exchange and money and finances. RuneScape taught me that, right? I never learned that in school. I see all these kids going and spending all the money they have, right? They didn't play RuneScape. They never saved up for a twisted bow, right? I remember like countless nights of me just like doing an AFK skill, like mining or fishing or something, and just be talking to my friends about, oh, look at the market this week, this item crashed, this went up, this went down, right? Like, it's literally the stock market, man. And like, you can see trends and see what's going up and down. You learn how to merge, you learn how to flip. It's so much learning that happened. Growing up, you're obviously in all different types of mood. You're happy, you're sad, you're stressed, and it just kind of is a different thing every single day. And I think RuneScape really tackled this well, where you can kind of play the game in any mood you want. You got a lot of homework, you're busy in your real life, you hop on, you AFK a skill like fishing or cooking or mining, right? And then there's times where you have all the free time in the world, like summer. You do some quests, you do some bosses, you do some raids. There's always content for whatever mood you are in. You could just be tired one day and not really want to focus. That's fine. You want to watch a new movie that came out, that's fine. You can still play the game. So you're always constantly playing the game and always thinking about the game, right? And that's a really good design aspect of the game, where you can do things slow and very slow, but it's bad experience. Or you could do things really fast, might be good experience, might be more engaging, right? It's a game you can literally play any day of the week in any mood you are in. RuneScape has tons of different game modes. We have things like the leagues all the way to things like a regular account, right? And in between we have things like Ironman mode, Ultimate Ironman, and then there's so many different types of ways you could play this game. You could be a pure, you could be a skiller, you could be just a PVMer. Like, there's so many different ways of playing this game, right? And all of the different ways make the game so fun to do. If you've been a veteran of this game forever, you can try something like the Ironman mode, where you have to go ahead and do everything yourself and push yourself to the limits. And that's really where I fell back in love with the game and continue to play the Ironman game mode today, even if I'm chasing a Dragon Warhammer and I'm 10,000 kills dry, but that's okay. The game is just super fun, and it's something I can always look forward to. If I'm having a bad day, I can think about, oh, what's going to happen next in RuneScape? When's the next big update going to come out? What am I going to do tonight when I log in? There's just so many benefits to playing it and always having fun with the game, right? I'm in a really busy part of my life, right? And I've got a lot of schoolwork to do, or, work's killing me and whatever. Log in and, just casually train an hour of fishing while I'm watching some Netflix or YouTube, right? It's always there for you, and you're always making progression no matter what you're doing. That's the beauty of it, man. I mean, I guess you could just go lose your bank or something like that, but at the same time, you're gaining XP, you know what I mean? You're always doing something, and it's great. And now that I make YouTube videos and have like an audience, it's just even more fun to wake up and read all of the comments that you guys leave. And overall, it's just such a huge part of my life, and it's been over half my life now. and it's gonna be double that soon. So anyways, thank you guys so much for watching the entire video today. If you went ahead and watched the whole video, make sure to go ahead and comment Lizardman down in the comments below. Thank you guys so much, and I will see you in the next one.